Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aries energy. And we're going to get these cards out. We're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because not everybody harnesses high vibe Aries energy. You know, Aries energy is about the self. Life's about learning lessons. We all could have been more inspired to be more about ourselves, the things of the world, things we wanted to indulge in that we were sure were going to make us happy. And life's about learning that love is loving ourselves, believing in ourselves, getting out of our fear and our insecurity and all these different things that manipulate us are the things that really help us be a good leader in our own life and a good leader in the world and being more independent, knowing our worth and value. But some people haven't learned those lessons yet. And you could feel some people in your life are more immature, egotistical, indulgent, materialistic. Those people in turn could know people in their life that they feel are more immature, material. You know, we're all kind of looking for people who are kind of on the same page as we are at the same time. And in our Aries energy, you know, we're all motivated and inspired by different things. Some people are really more about themselves. They're more about themselves. You're supposed to be more about them. If they're more about ego and image and money and materialism, you're supposed to be and stay in a relationship being motivated and inspired by those same things. And that's maybe not the driving factor in your life. High vibe energy is about having learned these lessons, that it's about having balance in your life and realizing your emotional nature is important, your worldly stability nature is important, your truth, what you think is just and fair is important, your creative, passionate, inspired nature is important. All four are equally important. But sometimes people are tipped out of balance where they disregard certain aspects of themselves, like that's not as important. Some people don't think love is important. Some people think love is a danger zone. I get hurt doing that. It's supposed to just be more about me. People are supposed to love me. I shouldn't have to love other people. That puts me in danger of being hurt. So, anyway, we're going to read it from all these different perspectives. It might be something particularly that Aries sun signs, Aries energy in general is dealing with, but we all tap into Aries energy. So it kind of affects us all. So depending on how you harness your Aries energy, you would probably want to be in a relationship with people who kind of harness their Aries energy in the same way. And sometimes we get in more mismatched relationships. So listen to your intuition about where you might be in the story, what drives and motivates you, what drives and motivates some other people. And at the end, we're going to get out some cards to ask what could be a possible outcome for people depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Aries energy or a more worldly shadowy energy. And I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading. It's a long road card. You know, high vibe people have a goal, and it is about being illuminated to the truth, wanting to free themselves from their more being manipulated by their fear, their insecurity, their pride, their ego, not wanting other people in the world to manipulate them. Because high vibe energy is about knowing your worth and value, being independent, loving yourself, being more independent, and shining your authentic light. And it takes work and effort, you know, to learn these lessons throughout our life. It takes time. And, you know, some people don't want to put in that work and effort. I just want what I want now. And so some people try to cheat the system. You know, I want what I want now. And the outcome is the thief card. We either have worked through things that try to steal from us, like taking shortcuts, trying to get what we want, being egotistical, being bossy, being controlling, being manipulative, and see that that isn't going to get us what we want. And some people keep thinking that's the way to go. And they're going to keep doing it, you know? So what's going on in Aries energy? We have the bouquet, which is Virgo energy, which is kind of what the long road was talking about to me, because Virgo energy and high vibe is taking those slow, steady steps forward to learn lessons in life. But some people harness a more worldly Virgo energy, and their long-term goal is to have look like a shining star in the world. The Thief card reminds me of the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. What is our dream? What is our ultimate goal? Shadowy Virgo, it's more about these things of the world and having a certain status and image and looking like a shining star in the world. That takes work and effort. And some people don't want to put in the work and effort. They want those things, but they don't want to put in the work and effort. So it is kind of being deceptive and manipulative, trying to get what they want. Why did the bouquet card come out? Because of the dice card, which is fire sign energy, about what drives and motivates us. And some people want to look like a shining star in the world, look victorious and successful, have people view them that way, but they're really not growing and healing and maturing themselves. And they could think, if I just have a certain status and image or money or power or influence or hang out with certain people or get in this type of relationship or make this kind of amount of money, I'll be happy. And those people might go on this journey, and that could be when they realize at the end of it, wow, I wasn't seeing things clearly. I was so caught up in my head or so caught up in the world, and I wasn't seeing the truth. And they put in all that work and effort, and they put in work and effort to have a certain status or image, but they weren't putting in work and effort to look at life from a higher perspective and keep things in perspective. And they lost perspective. They kind of got off course. They got tipped out of balance, and they kind of drove their life off into the ditch. And they might not know that for a long time, that all these things that they made more important in their life, other than being inspired to grow and heal and mature themselves and love themselves and free themselves from these things that manipulate them, while they were off pursuing these other things, other people were doing that work within themselves. And some of those people see the truth about people who aren't doing that work and effort. And though in high vibe, the Seven of Swords card is like, I have a dream, and I'm going to listen to my intuition about who seems to be trying to cheat the system and who is putting in the work and effort, having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in love and in their dreams. Those are the people I'm going to move forward with. And I'm going to move away from these people who are more about themselves or the things of the world, because I think those people one day are going to find out that they kind of lost perspective somewhere along the way, and I'm not going to let them trap me with them in a way and get me caught up in that, because then it will steal from me my dreams. So then we have the timing card and the ending card, and the reason that came out is because of the direction card. You know, we all have been caught up in the world and the things of the world that we're sure are the answer to our problems and is going to make us happy. And we all kind of learn lessons in life at different times, and we have to be willing and open to learn lessons in life. We have to get out of our pride and ego to even be willing to admit, to see the truth that I got to quit living my life a certain way or viewing life a certain way or being in certain types of friendships or relationships or jobs if I want to keep headed in the right direction, believing in my dreams, seeing what tries to take from me, and seeing the truth. I'm not going to give up on my dreams. I'm going to keep moving forward, loving and believing in myself. I'm going to keep putting in this work and effort. And when I see that some people are more about themselves or the world, and I could feel like that's the direction they're headed, and in the ending card, in the death card, like in tarot, you could feel like some people are more emotionally shallow and superficial, kind of gave up on their dreams, kind of are all caught up in the illusion of the world and making their life all about these things. And other people, you know, we've all been there. We've all been more caught up in the world and had lessons to learn. But again, some people have learned some lessons in life that if I just make my life more about me or these things of the world, and I haven't detached from being more about myself and these things of the world, my dreams aren't going to come into reality. So if there's some things I've been investing my time, energy, and effort into, and I see that if I keep doing that, it's going to be an end, the death, to my dreams coming into reality. And the only person I can change is me. I can offer resources and truth and love in high vibe Virgo energy to other people, but they have to make that decision within themselves. If they're willing to detach from some old ways of thinking or believing or living, and if they're willing to see the truth about how those things steal from them. And I can't make other people see the truth. I can't make other people quit being more about themselves or things they think are going to make them happy. I've maybe already been there. I realize that it leads to nothing but stagnant energy in a way, because the death card can be like stagnant energy. You're not giving birth to anything new. You're not facing your fears. You're not growing and healing. You're not kind of like growing to your full potential. But, everybody teach their own. If some people want to live a life where I don't give birth to anything new, I'm happy living my life like this, that's fine. They can live their life like that. But if we feel it's kind of stagnant and nothing ever changes, nobody's giving birth to anything new, and it might be because people gave up on their dreams, that's fine. But I can't keep living my life like that. And so then we have the fish card, the child, and the cross card. Let's see, the cross card is the 12th house, which is Aquarius energy, and I'm viewing the thief card as like the 7 of swords. Pisces energy is, I have a dream. And in my inner child nature, I had a dream, and I do maybe have hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams, and I do listen to my intuition instead of getting more caught up in being about myself, where kind of like I make life being about myself, like I am the greatest power in the world or something, or making the world my God or something, My dream wasn't to make my life about looking like a shining star in the world and being caught up in this illusion, but some people are. It's like, that's what the world tells us life is about. Make your life about these things. Dress this way, act this way, have this. If you have these certain things or whatever, you'll look like a shining star in the world. And for some people, that is their ultimate goal. That is their ultimate dream. But high vibe energy is looking that there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And that there's more to this world than what the world tries to tell us it is. High vibe energy wants us, in the stork card, in Aries energy, to give birth to something new. We live in a world of duality, and kind of at the big picture, high vibe energy of giving birth to new things is represented by God, and shadowy energy at the big picture is kind of represented by the devil. We live in a world of duality, and we have free will. But high vibe energy wants us to give birth to new things, learn these lessons, be inspired to kind of go on this journey because Aries is about taking these leaps of faith to go on these new journeys. And the death card and Scorpio energy, life's this unfolding adventure to learn these lessons about, we're this emotionally complex human being. We have our more worldly, dualistic nature. We have our hopeful, believing, loving nature. It's your free will choice to make your life more about the world or yourself or indulgence. Indulge your more immature nature. You can do that. You can keep giving birth to in the Sun card, operating from your ego. And you can keep repeating this pattern over and over and over with the past life card. We will all repeat a certain pattern until we're illuminated to the truth that we are repeating an old pattern. If we see the truth of it, that, oh wow, I'm kind of like repeating an old pattern. I could be repeating a pattern from childhood. I could be repeating a pattern of getting caught up in illusion, letting the world manipulate me, letting my fear manipulate me, letting my ego manipulate me, living my life the way other people in my life live their life, or people in my life in the past live their life. Like, I should live my life like they live their life. They seem to do good. I'll follow their template. But we're all different. We're all unique. We all have our own dreams. How some people live their life, that could have been the right decision for them. Maybe they weren't making decisions, though, based on truth and love and being bold and brave and confident, you know? But some people don't prefer to live more from their mind than their heart. I'm just going to follow that template, or I'm going to live more from my defensive egoic nature. I'm going to make my life more about the world. That's like the safe bet. You know, then I'll look victorious and successful in the world, and people will view me a certain way, and that's kind of the most important thing. Well, we all might do that for the first 30, 40 years of our life, but, you know, there comes a time, why am I not high vibe Leo living my more authentic life? Why am I living my life like everyone else, or like other people in my life have lived their life? You know, it could have been great for them. It might have worked out for them, but if that's not my truth, high vibe Virgo, that's not my truth. And I would like to live my life differently. You know, like people can grow up, say, in a household where people are all more certain types of professions or industries. And maybe someone else is more creative and inspired, and everybody in the family would be like, oh, well, I don't know if you should do that. That's like different than what we've done. And, you know, you'd really have to have hope and faith and belief in your dreams. And we don't really know if you'd have the status or the image. And I don't know, maybe you should give up that dream, and maybe you should make your life more like we live our life. And, you know, and we can do that. But, you know, there's a part of us that wants to live our more authentic life. And if we're willing to see how we could kind of be manipulated by other people in the world and all these things, and not really listening to our own intuition and living our more authentic life, as we pursue those things in the world, and when we see that some of the things we go pursue kind of we maybe really don't find as emotionally fulfilling as we thought they would in the Pisces, which is emotional water sign energy, and the great water kind of course, makes me think of Pisces energy, and with the Sun, Leo energy, where we could just feel like we're not able to live our authentic truth, or all these things that we thought was the way to go, we don't find it as emotionally fulfilling as we want. And then Pisces energy can kind of be where we're kind of confused, you know? I really thought this was the truth, and maybe I was kind of following the template and doing what other people in the world and in my life and my state or my country were telling me was the way that I should, and what I should invest my time, energy, and effort into, that this would make me happy, and this was like the just and fair thing. And, you know, but the whole thing is, we're our own unique individual. And, you know, if everybody had kept repeating old patterns forever, we'd all still be cave people today. But some people listen to their creativity and their imagination. That's kind of what Pisces energy and our more emotional, creative, inspired, hopeful, believing nature is like. You know, how about we were given the gift? You can look at the cross as like being a gift. We were given our emotionally creative, inspired, our intellect, our reasoning. All of those things were given to us as a gift, to not, you know, like a fox 5,000 years ago is probably just like a fox today, right? They don't really, aren't creating new things in the world, right? But we, as are part of the animal kingdom, but we were given these unique traits and characteristics to be more than an animal, more than a computer. We can give birth to new things. So the stork and the sun is about new beginnings. And, we see what are the good building blocks. That's kind of like Virgo energy. What are these good building blocks of things we've learned along the way that we want to take with us? They are part of our dream. Those are good foundational building blocks to take with us. But then what things should we maybe let go of? That maybe we've kind of found out, we go in life, we go on these new adventures, we think we're on the right path. Are we willing to get out of our ego to say, oh, wait, no, that took a left turn or a right turn or whatever, oh, I better go back and take some time and see what I need to let go of and what I should keep moving forward with. Because anytime going down the path of life, we can kind of veer off and kind of go on the ditch in either side, kind of indulging poor behavior in ourselves or others. And, we kind of need to get back on center. And are we willing to admit when something I invested in, oops, took a wrong turn there, or maybe I got caught up in illusion, maybe other people, shadowy Pisces can be people who try to create an illusion that they're motivated and inspired by the same things as us, and then we move forward with them. And if we listen to our intuition and our gifts, maybe we'll see, wait a minute, I think what they want to give birth to is repeating this old pattern. I think, their idea of the dream life or dream relationship is a little different from mine. Am I willing to get out of my ego when I feel like, wait a minute, I think we're kind of headed in different directions, or maybe I think you were trying to confuse me about the truth of what drove and motivated you, that maybe you are more motivated by ego and image or kind of repeating this old pattern, and I really want to give birth to new things where I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone, and that does require that I be willing to see the truth. The sun and Virgo's about seeing the truth, seeing what I need to detach from, not get caught up in illusion, not indulge poor immature behavior in myself and others, and stay focused on truth and love, and listen to my intuition so that I can keep kind of growing to my full potential and shedding old layers of myself to give birth to new layers of myself. The ending card, like the death card in Scorpio, is about death and transformation. And then my nesting dolls over there kind of represent that. We were age 15. It was perfect for us to be an age 15-year-old. We had a certain way of living life and viewing life. But then as we start to get older and we have these dreams, hopefully we're inspired to shed our more 15-year-old way of being, have hope and faith and belief in ourselves, believe in our dreams. We detach from some old ways of being. We're bold and brave and confident to face our fears, that we kind of let that old way of being be in the past. I don't want to go back to that way of being. Now I'm going to be like an 18-year-old. And then we give birth to being more like an 18-year-old. And we go through that process going to be 21, going to be 25. And we continue that process throughout our life. And there can be a lot of people who are willing to do a lot of those things during that time period, but they could kind of still had an idea of kind of still being more inspired by themselves and their ego and their more worldly nature. And we can be in friendships and relationships or marriages with people or family dynamics with people, and we've all went through some of those processes. But then, there can always be a time where we kind of have different dreams and how we want to keep moving forward. And some people might be like, I'm good. I did a lot of those things and I shed a lot of ways, but I'm good here. And they might want to stay on a certain way of being because kind of once you move through some of those stages of life, I think when we get older, the stages of life can be longer, where we might Instead of, when we were little kids, it was practically every 6 months or every year, we kind of had to detach from some old way of things because there's so many things we were learning. And we were motivated and inspired to learn them, and we weren't going to let anything stand in our way. We were going to learn how to do those things. And then as we get older, it's a little bigger time period. And then as we get older again, it's a bigger time period. And we all like to kind of stay in our comfort zone, and we kind of have fear of stepping out of our comfort zone because we all can have a fear of change. We all like to kind of repeat these old patterns. And so then as we kind of get older, some people kind of still want to stay in a certain stage of life. And we're kind of ready to move forward in life differently. And with a lot of people in our life, they can wish us peace, friends, family members, adult children, co-workers, like, hey, you go do you. I'm okay here. I'm going to keep doing my life here, you know. And a lot of people can, and we could have known people that were more bold and brave and confident, and we weren't ready to step out of our comfort zone. It's like, I'm good. I'm still here. I don't feel the draw to do life any differently. And some people wish us peace. Some people don't. Some people don't like it when other people have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or believe in their dreams. Or high vibe Leo can be where you're kind of just more comfortable within yourself to be more authentic in the world. And a more shadowy energy can be where you're operating more from your ego. And sometimes some more shadowy people in the world might try to stop other people from loving and believing in themselves, might be deceptive and manipulative or bossy or controlling or hurtful or unkind. They might want some high vibe people in their life to put an end to that and kind of do the relationship the way they want. But shadowy Aries can be, that anyone can harness, can be kind of bossy, controlling, a little egotistical, a little more about themselves, more caught up in the worldly dream. And if high vibe people in their life who are more loving and encouraging and hopeful and believing would keep staying in a relationship with them, that would be their idea of the dream relationship. They don't want to maybe change. They kind of have this illusions about relationships that maybe they can be more about themselves and their ego, and you're supposed to kind of indulge them in their poor behavior and keep staying in the job or the relationship because you look like shining stars in the world. By worldly standards, it could look victorious and successful, and that's how they could view life. And that could have been their idea of the dream life. My idea of the dream life is I don't have to change. I can kind of be immature, prideful, egotistical, bossy, controlling, manipulative. But my idea is to try to confuse people, shadowy Pisces. I'm going to try to confuse people about the truth of who I am. I'm going to try to present myself as being more high vibrational so that you'll move forward with me in a relationship. But I'm being deceptive and manipulative. That really isn't my truth. But I'm hoping if I get you in a relationship and a commitment with me, that even when you are illuminated to the truth, that how I want to move forward and how you want to move forward is different. I'm hoping because of you and your own ego, and you're wanting this dream to work out the way you wanted, that you'll keep putting in work and effort to try to make it what you want, even though you've seen that isn't the truth of who I am. But we can all put a lot of work and effort into a relationship. That's kind of like high vibe Virgo, putting in work and effort to try to bring a dream into reality, being hopeful. But the whole thing is, eventually we got to be illuminated to the truth that we want to move forward in life differently. We're driven and motivated by different truths. We view life differently. And it's kind of it's like a dream relationship for someone who's more shadowy, bossy, manipulative, defensive, to love, to be in a relationship with someone who's loving and giving and nurturing. It's like, yep, that works for me. This is what I always wanted. But the loving people feel deceived that you made it seem like you were someone who was willing to be more independent, being willing to detach from this illusion about what it means to be in a relationship, to be more bold and brave and authentic and have hope and faith and belief and love. And now I find out you're not. And I'm no longer an illusion. Eventually people can put in that work and effort and keep trying to make it different than it is. In a typical Seven of Swords card, the one person is holding the 5 swords, and then there's the 2 of Swords. And, the 5s can talk about change. And we can always hope that other people will change, but they have to make that free will choice themselves. And eventually, if we keep seeing that that isn't their truth and that isn't how they view life, and they might not look at life from a higher perspective, they think this is nothing wrong with it. It works for them. And other people are like, well, it doesn't work for me. If I'm inspired by truth and love and being authentic and putting in work and effort, growing and healing and maturing myself to see how I might repeat past patterns that could get me up in my head, that are not life-giving, they're hurtful or unkind or bossy or controlling or whatever. I want to be in relationships with people who see that same when they act in that way. And some people are like, I don't have to change. I might have this certain status or image, and you should want to be in a relationship with me, male or female. You should. This is the way I view life. You're supposed to indulge me. I've had other people indulge me. I was like, well, I'm done indulging you. And eventually some people, tell people the truth that I could feel like you're repeating some poor past patterns. That's kind of like the Fool. The Fool is sometimes repeating an old pattern, which is Aries energy. I think you kind of take some foolish risks in this relationship that are hurtful and unkind instead of listening to your intuition and having hope and faith and belief in love and being more authentic and putting in work and effort. And it's kind of like, this is how I am going to move forward. I am inspired to be authentic, to believe in my dreams, to put in work and effort in truth and love, to grow and heal and mature myself. Do you want to do that or not? And then this fish is kind of like going back the other direction. It's like, at one time I might have kind of thought that way, and I maybe had hope and faith and belief I would do that if the choice came up. But I'm really not ready to detach from, because Scorpio is also emotional water sign energy. I'm not ready to emotionally detach from being more about myself or the world or these things I like to indulge in or make my life about. Because high vibe Scorpio is about emotionally detaching from an old way of living life or viewing life and transforming your life. You shed an old layer of yourself to align with your more hopeful, believing nature. Even though you can have fear and insecurity, you move to that next phase of life believing that, facing your fears to put in that work and effort, believing you can overcome, that you can go to that next phase of life and be victorious and successful at it. And some people are like, oh, no, I don't have that kind of hope and faith and belief, so I'm going to go back and repeat this old pattern. And that's kind of when we kind of see the truth. And how many times did people repeat an old pattern that wasn't conducive, taking action that wasn't loving, wasn't authentic, wasn't in taking action and hope and faith and belief, and maybe took some action that kind of sabotages the relationship, maybe just getting caught up in their head. Maybe they're not people who are able to. I kind of view the Leo Sun card and high vibe energy as that we offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness and all these things to keep having hope and faith and belief, so we can keep temper ourselves, keep ourselves in balance. And maybe they have some lessons still to learn about doing that within themselves, so maybe they do get caught up in their head. And maybe so long as things work out where they are kind of more indulged in their ego, and people kind of haven't seen the truth, that they kind of live more from their mind than their heart, that they are kind of shadowy in some way. And then if people do see the truth and they really want them to be more authentic or loving and less defensive and put in this work and effort, then it's like, oh, no, the gig is up. I don't want to put in work and effort to look at life differently or put things in perspective or get out of my head or get out of my ego. If I can't manipulate you, because you're either in high vibe Leo being, which anyone can harness, being authentic and you are who you say you are, or you're in shadowy Leo and you're trying to confuse people about the truth of who you are, and you're kind of being manipulative and deceptive. And then when people see the truth, that they aren't who they say they are, they could do this work to figure out, well, why do I act like that? Why am I not more authentic? And part of it can just be that they're kind of more emotionally immature, don't think they should have to put in work and effort. And so then they repeat these poor past patterns, and eventually people kind of distance themselves from them. And same thing can happen in jobs. You can go apply at a job and they're like, oh yeah, we're not prideful and egotistical or bossy and controlling. We're really encouraging and supportive. And then you go take the job and you realize that was a complete illusion they created. That is not who they are at all. And, then you got to work through it within yourself. Like, shit, how long do I got to stay at this job? And I really, should I listen to my intuition? And then we're tempted again because, well, I have a job. It might be a good job, might have good benefits, but it's like, oh my gosh, these people were deceptive and manipulative, and they're bossy and controlling and immature. I don't want to keep staying here. And, sometimes you got to bide your time. But other people are like, I'm going to go start looking for a job now to go get a new job. And I just won't even put this job on my resume. So let's go see what's coming up for people who harness more high vibrational Aries energy. I think some high vibe Aries energy are hopeful, believing, authentic, loving people. Just like the rest of us, they have a hard time detaching, because we want the people in our life, we'd like them to move forward with us in this way, but eventually we can't keep staying in denial of the truth, which is kind of what the Two of Swords in the Seven of Swords talks about. Everybody's free to live their life whatever way they want. They'll just have the consequences of the choices that they make. But I do have a dream. And if I'm ready to move forward differently, and I wish them peace and love, they have the free will to offer me peace and love as I go on my journey. Not everybody's got to go live their life the way I want. Everybody has their things that they like to enjoy and whatever. But there could be some people that it's like, no, if you go live your life like that, then it's over. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I was like, okay. And it's hurtful and it's confusing. Why do people who I thought and I viewed as loving and nurturing, sometimes we got to see that some people in our life don't want us to believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams. And we have, just like we have our dualistic nature, we have different people we can hang out with in the world. And some people, it's like if you go live your life differently, or you're more authentically yourself, or you're more hopeful and believing and look at life differently, well, then we're on completely different pages. And some of those people, try to use the love that people have for them to keep manipulating them. And some people keep being manipulated and they keep not seeing how just their friend group or people in their original family or something, love interests manipulate them, really don't have their best interest at heart. But because they could be afraid of speaking their truth or distancing themselves from some of those people to have a new beginning, they keep kind of being manipulated. And the whole thing is that there's a part within them that aligns with that thinking, or they wouldn't align with those people. And then sometimes when we're in relationship with them, just like say you did have a bad supervisor at work who's bossy and controlling and petty and immature. Well, a supervisor, a manager of that supervisor, though, is kind of codependent on that person, and they're not willing to fire that person. And eventually you see the truth of it. As long as they keep kind of indulging someone who's in shadowy energy, I need to see the truth of it and I need to move on. And then the same thing happens in relationships. If I'm in a relationship with someone and I see they have either these ways of being within themselves that are not aligned with my truth, or they have people in their life that they are maybe more codependent on, that they let manipulate them. Well, if I keep staying in a relationship with them, those things that manipulate them, I have to let manipulate me. And some of those people want us to let those things manipulate us. If I'm manipulated by these things, you should be manipulated by these things. If I'm more caught up in the world or an addiction or ego or looking like a shining star in the world, or I'm more about myself, you should make your life more about those things too. It's like give up, got an alarm on my phone. Give up your dreams and listening to your intuition to make your life more about me or these things or these people or whatever. And some people are like, I have put in the work and effort. I have done everything I can do. Truth and love apparently isn't your truth. Something else is. So I see the truth, and even though it's confusing, even though it's difficult, I'm going to keep moving forward, seeing the truth that someone is wanting me to repeat a past pattern. And I've already been there and I've already done that. If you're being immature and unloving, I've already been in relationships with people who are immature and unloving. If shadowy Scorpio, you're being intimidating, controlling, acting like a private detective, if I've already been in relationships with someone like that, or I know that's a no-go, that's a no-go. If I've been in relationships with people who are more about themselves, I've already been there and done that. I'm dealing with truth and love. And if you don't have faith in love, you don't think there's more to this game of life than you or the world, then you make your life about that, and I'm moving on. And I'm going to give birth to a new beginning, and I am willing to put in the work and effort to keep focused on the bigger picture and not getting up in my head in my fear and my insecurity and my pride and my ego and my lust and my greed. And I think if the high vibe people do that, they will have these new beginnings. Their work and effort will pay off. They will move forward. They've detached from an old dream to put their work and effort into a new dream. And the people in their life who weren't willing to move forward with them in that way, they will go back and repeat this old pattern because the truth sets us free. And there could be some truth they don't want to see the truth about. So that will keep manipulating them. And they'll keep repeating this pattern until maybe one day they see the truth. And like, oh, now I see how I was repeating an old pattern. And, Pisces can be where something is kind of buried in our subconscious. It could be past pain and heartbreak. It could be fear. It could be insecurity. It could be lack mentality. It could be fear of shining our own light, believing in ourselves. Things could have happened in our life and we could have been in relationships with other people who were kind of shadowy or bossy or controlling or manipulative or egotistical. And we didn't kind of realize how those things affected us. And then if we're not seeing the truth of it, I think we will be drawn and attracted to people who have some of those, who will help us deal with some of those issues that are buried in our subconscious to try to free us from it and to see the truth of it. And some of you went through some situations in your life that it did help you free yourself. And some other people, they have yet to maybe see the truth, and some people purposely don't want to see the truth. Some people know they're deceptive, manipulative, bossy, controlling, materialistic, manipulative. Some of them know the truth, and that's how they want to keep living their life. Other people do not want to admit that that's the truth of who they are. And as long as they keep staying in denial of it, they're going to keep doing it. And other people are going to keep seeing the truth, and they're going to keep moving away. And they can keep staying in denial of the truth. No, it should be more about me. Other people shouldn't believe in themselves. People shouldn't heal and grow and mature themselves. I don't. They should make their life more about me and indulging me. It's like, well, good luck. The high vibe people, the Knight of Pentacles, Virgo energy. Why? Because of the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is Scorpio energy. High vibe people were inspired to see the truth. I do not want to repeat some old patterns. I do not want to be deceived and manipulated. I don't want my own fears and my insecurities to manipulate me. I'm going to look at life from a higher perspective. I'm going to keep things in perspective. There's a part of me in my more immature worldly nature that wants me to keep repeating that old pattern. But high vibe Scorpio is I want to reconcile myself with the past. I don't want the past to keep manipulating me. I also want to be in deep, meaningful relationships. We are emotionally complex human beings, and I'm not afraid of love. High vibe Scorpios, I do want to explore the mysteries of life emotionally. I have a dream. I want to live my authentic life and have this rich life experience emotionally. And there's other people in the world that's like, I don't want to do that. I could like to live more from my mind than my heart and keep my more emotional nature buried beneath the surface. It's confusing. I'm going to operate more from my ego and my worldly nature and make my life more about that. It's like, okay, well, that's not my truth. And so as you keep putting this work and effort to maintain, the sixes can talk about maintaining balance within yourself. Again, emotionally, in your more worldly nature, you might want to go do some things. But emotionally, like 2, 3 of Cups energies, emotionally, in your more hopeful, believing, loving nature, you're letting truth and love and hope and faith and belief in your dreams guide the decisions that you make in your life. Maintaining balance within yourself. Offering love to people in your life. Everybody's where they're at. Everybody's got their lessons learned. Some people are more just and fair and loving than other people. Everybody's going to have their life experience. You do you. I've seen the truth, and we come into contact with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about our truth and what kind of relationships we want to be in and what drives and motivates us. And then we feel more confident within ourselves to stand up for ourselves and what we believe in. And I'm not willing to invest more time, energy, and effort into people who I might think are more shadowy. You do you. I'm looking for people of hope and faith and belief in their dreams. We all want stability and security, and we all put probably work and effort to have those things. But I also want deep, meaningful relationships, and I'm not willing to sacrifice those. And other people are, because that isn't important to them. That isn't what they value. They're maybe more about the ego and the image and the money and the materialism or whatever it is they indulge in, or it being more about them. It's like, well, you do you. And I think as you do that, if people are working through this process, they will get to this place of being ready to move forward. Virgo energy is also about doing this inner work to emotionally detach, to work through the emotional confusion and the dreams that you had, but dealing with the truth that if people were motivated and inspired to be more authentic or were more balanced within themselves, some people are tipped out of balance and they do have a lot of things that manipulate them. You know, if they were in that frame of mind and stuff emotionally, they would, but some people aren't. And some people never will be, and some people don't want to be. Some people like being more out of balance. Some people like being more about themselves, like being more about the world, like repeating these old patterns. You know, you have to be willing to kind of the sun card and the high vibe energy is about giving birth to something new. And some people don't. Some people don't want to be more authentically themselves. Some people like to hide behind their ego facade all their life. And other people are like, I don't want to live a life of facade and illusion. I want to get clear about what my truth is, and I want to learn to love and believe in myself, and I want to work through my mental conflict and inner conflict about being at peace within myself and being more authentically myself. And I do believe that there's more to this world than what the world tells me. I don't think it's what I wear and what I drive and how much money I have or if I'm in a relationship or I'm not in a relationship. Some people make all those things the definition of their worth and value. And it's like, I think I'm more than that. I think I'm more than what I wear or what I drive or how much money I have or, you know. And I'm going to invest in my truth and they can invest in their truth. And I think as you move forward in this more emotionally balanced and high vibe Virgo is being self-aware and emotionally mature and learning lessons, I think there's going to be other people who will see you doing that, and it might make some of those people question how they're living their life. Well, why do I do what I do? And did I give up on my dreams? Am I more authentic? And that's why high vibe energy and high vibe Aries is about being a leader in the world, shining your authentic light, and believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And some people got caught up in things and they're not really living their authentic truth or really even doing love. You know, and some people are in things that they could wish they weren't in, you know? What's coming up for some people who are harnessing a more worldly, shadowy Aries energy that they might not see coming up? You know, the people in the world that harness a more shadowy, worldly Aries energy, I don't think things are going to work out the way they think. It's like planting bad seeds and thinking they're going to come out with this good outcome. It's like you might have what looks like the illusion of that, but in order to actually have a deep, meaningful, stable, balanced, authentic, loving relationship, both people have to be in that energy. But they could think, no, I just need to get in a relationship with someone who's in that energy. I don't really have to be that type of person. I'll create the illusion I'm that type of person. But then it's kind of like in their shadowy fire sign energy, they're kind of indulging, kind of like having sex in a relationship, but they're not really doing a deep, meaningful relationship, and they're being deceptive and manipulative. And eventually the people in their life can tell that I don't think you're being authentic, you know, and eventually those people are going to move on. Or if they do stay in the relationship, it could be more for the status or the ego or the image, you know, and they had the capability to have that, but you have to get out of your defensive nature, your egoic nature, being more about yourself, keeping your more hopeful, believing nature buried beneath the surface. And if they're not willing to bring that out and let that aspect of themselves out to play in the world, they're kind of missing the true spark that brings relationships to life. And it's more of something that might seem like more like a job. It's like shadowy Virgo energy, where it seems more like a job because it is more from ego and repeating this old pattern, and not being in it because you're motivated and inspired by love. So, and willing to get out of your ego and your defensiveness to be more authentic in a relationship. What's coming up? And then, if people get in a relationship with them, the high vibe people might eventually leave. The other people might stay in a relationship with them because it works for them. It's good for their ego and image. But if you're not in a relationship because of love, why are you in it? And then, wait a minute. I see someone else who seems to have more status, more image, more money, more power, more fear, more insecurity that I think would indulge me more. I think I'll go get in a relationship with them because it wasn't based on love anyway. It was all constructed and an illusion for these certain reasons. But if it's not based on love, it's an unstable foundation. Well, that worked while it worked, but then, sorry, someone else came along, more status, more ego, more image, more willing to indulge me. Bye. So they kind of, with them not being willing to be more authentic and loving, they could think that's a safe bet, and this is the way to go. I won't get hurt. They're deceiving themselves. They will be hurt regardless. Because just not even aligning with love and working through their baggage, it is there all the time, every day. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people? We have the High Priestess, the Five of Pentacles, the Knight of Wands. Why? Because of the Six of Cups. So, in shadow, the Six of Cups can mean that people are repeating an old pattern. People could be hiding that their philosophy of life in their Taurus energy is that I think I should be able to be more immature. I shouldn't have to heal and grow and mature myself. Or I have a lack mentality and I haven't learned to love myself. So I go look outside of myself because I haven't learned to love myself and I haven't done this work within myself. So I go look outside of myself for someone to love me. And that's kind of where it's more about them. It's more about me and someone loving me because I haven't learned to love myself. High vibe Leo, I'm still operating from my ego. I haven't learned to love myself. I haven't put this work and effort in to reconcile with myself with the past and my past pain and heartbreak and my fears and my insecurities and relationships that didn't work out the way I wanted, to free myself from those things that manipulate me. And those things still manipulate me. And I'm still maybe chasing after people who might have some of those same traits and characteristics, trying to change those people. To get those people to change, to love me. And we offer people truth and love, and then we keep moving forward in life. But we've all been, at least I know I've been, I think it's kind of a phase that we can go through, where we can be a loving, encouraging person also, but we're always trying to change other people. When they have their own philosophy of life, if they were motivated and inspired to be in a more loving, authentic relationship, they would be. But sometimes we, kind of in our God complex, are trying to change other people. Oh, look, here's someone that I'm attracted to, that I want to be in a relationship, but they're kind of more defensive to love. Oh, I'm going to change them. Well, even God learned all we do is offer people truth and love. If they're motivated and inspired by that, we'll move forward with them. If they're not, we listen to our intuition, we wish them peace, and we keep moving on. And we go to find the people who are open to the message, who want to work with us cooperatively in love. But, and sometimes, that can be how we were brought up, and we think everybody's motivated and inspired by love, but not everybody is. And when are we going to see the truth of it? People have their own truth. People have their own philosophy of life. People have the things that drive and motivate them. If we quit trying to change people, the fives are about change. When we see that some people have some ways of being that don't seem quite aligned with being more authentic and just and fair and loving, or more emotionally mature, we've been there. We wish you peace. Hope it works out for you. But we're moving on. But you might know some people that you think are still trying to change other people. But another way I read this is that some of the worldly, shadowy people are repeating an old pattern. They're more inspired by the world and to repeat this pattern of how they view relationships, kind of, and what they think is just and fair. And maybe you're just more caught up in the world and looking like a star in the world is the most important thing. Healing, growing, maturing, deep, meaningful relationships, those things just maybe don't interest them and aren't as important to them. And if they keep acting like that at any given moment in their life, they're going to have more high vibrational people in their life that have been wanting to move forward with them. But eventually those people listen to their intuition and that they've got to detach from these people. And some of the high vibe people in their life see the truth, go through this process within themselves. I wish you peace. This is how I am moving forward. Are you coming with or not? And that's when the more worldly, shadowy people are like, nope, I'm going to keep repeating this pattern. And partly because they think the high vibe people in their life won't love and believe in themselves. And they could know that those people love them. They could know that those people wanted a dream to come into reality. And they think they can manipulate those people. I'm going to sit here and watch. I know you have hope and faith and belief and love. I don't know. You might go out there. It might not work out the way you want. I think you'll give up. I think you'll come back and do the relationship the way I want. And for some of those people, they're starting to see the truth that some of the high vibe people in their life won't be coming back for the people who've already left. And then they're like, oh shit, I was kind of deceiving myself. I really thought this would work. And odds are, well, it wouldn't even matter. If some of those prideful, egotistical people came towards you and wanted to be in a friendship or relationship with you, I think, we don't want to act out of pride and ego. You could communicate with people and get to know them to see what lessons they've learned. And whether it's a family member, a friend, or a romantic interest, for some people it's like, sorry, I already moved on and I've had a new beginning and I'm already in a new relationship. Or I know the type of relationship I want to be in. And if you might come communicate with me, I can kind of see that you still have your same philosophy of life and you more might try to tempt me with things of the world or your charm or sexuality or whatever, emotionally. I want to be in relationships with people who offer me the truth, people who've been enlightened to the truth. And if that's not the case, some people in your life, friends, family, romantic interests, some of those people will communicate with you, and new people you meet have learned lessons in life. They are on the same page as you. Those are people you're willing to have more relationship with. If it was a romantic interest, for some of them, you might decide, I would go back into a romantic relationship with you, but I'm glad that, you've healed or freed yourself. We need more healed people in the world. For other people, they might think that you're kind of in your ego about them and they're not seeing you clearly. And then when you tell them the truth, I've kind of reconciled myself with the past and, I wish you peace, but I'm kind of moving on. And that's when those people will probably go back and go repeat this old pattern because they really aren't still who they say they are. And some people can learn one lesson, but you might know that they have many more lessons to learn. And if they don't seem to be aware of, like, well, this manipulated me and this manipulated me and those people manipulated me, and they're not being forthcoming about all that, then it's like, yeah, or you think they're being deceptive or manipulative in some way, you would just keep moving forward. And these people will go try to get in a relationship with someone else who maybe experienced an ending, who wants a new beginning, and they'll go into their life presenting themselves as someone who will bring this dream into reality, but only if those people don't heal and grow and mature themselves enough to be like move forward in life in a way that's outside their comfort zone. If you become more authentically yourself, you want a more deep, meaningful relationship, you want me to put in work and effort, sorry, I'm going to go find someone else to get in a relationship with. Because some people don't. Again, some people can kind of be full of themselves. No, I'm the one who's supposed to seem like stable and grounded and mature or whatever, and you're supposed to want to be in a relationship with me. You're like the more immature, codependent person. But if you ever do the work within yourself to kind of be on the same level as me, oh yeah, no, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Because then it does require more equal give and take, and they might not like that. They like kind of seeming shadowy energy. Can be, I kind of like to seem like I'm the boss, male or female. And I kind of like to indulge myself in a relationship and kind of be manipulative and maybe immature, and you're just supposed to be codependent on me and let me do it. And if you're not in that energy anymore, then they want to go find someone else who is. So some people are moving forward, believing in their dreams. Some other people are repeating, it's like repeating an old pattern over and over, hoping for a different outcome. If they find someone who is more on the same page as them, then that would be a just and fair relationship. And that might be what happens. You know, there's other people in the world that didn't want to grow up and mature themselves, who are kind of more motivated by the world, want to repeat some old pattern, who hide that they're more about the world or more immature or superficial and shallow or more motivated by the world. And if they get in a relationship with someone who's like that, well, then that is someone. And it's just the fact that everybody in the world, you know, you could know different people, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how those people function or live their life, you know, because it might seem totally chaotic or immature or petty or whatever. But if they're both on the same page, they're both on that same emotional maturity level. And that is a relationship that maybe they could learn some lessons from each other. What's unjust and unfair is trying to create an illusion that you're more stable, grounded, loving, and mature than you really are, and then trying to trap someone in a relationship with you when you know that's not your truth. It's like, go get in a relationship with someone who lives their life the way you live it and views life the way you view it, and quit trying to present yourself as something that you're not. If you're more about yourself, go get in a relationship with someone who's more about themselves. If you have illusions about relationships, go get in a relationship with someone else who's more in illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. If you're more about the world and looking like a shining star, get in a relationship with someone else who's more motivated to be in a relationship for those reasons. And quit trying to get people who you know are more motivated and inspired by love to trap them in a relationship when you know that's not your truth. That's an injustice. And high vibe people will eventually listen to their intuition and move on. Anyway, there you go, Aries. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.